Happy Halloween, Look, if Smiling Friends can do a special a few days after a holiday, it's fair game. Creepypastas don't need an introduction. Originating in the 2000s as a play on copypasta, it has spawned the internet's most iconic horror stories that I'm pretty sure you all know the names of by now. I too have known about creepypastas, I may have had one a year ago, for as long as my parents had a PC, and that's the very reason I've cried to them to sleep in their room as a kid because I was afraid that the Smurfs were gonna crawl in my bed and eat my brains. Sounds like a better time than watching the 2025 movie if you ask me. And of course, with this becoming a trend, it's expected that these stories would branch out into multiple different subgenres. One of them being the subject of today's video, lost episodes. Lost episode creepypastas are exactly what they sound like. Never before seen episodes that are twisted, distorted, and disturbing versions of the TV shows we all know and love. And a lot of these pastas are not good. In fact, they're pretty infamous for being some of the worst internet horror stories out there. But lately, for better or worse, they've seen some sort of resurgence thanks to talented creators on YouTube bringing these stories to life, and it sort of what sparked the discussion of them. I'm not gonna go into detail of some of the more recognized lost episode pastas out there because I would be repeating some other creators who have done that already, but I would like to talk about why they have the reputation they do, and go into its recent YouTube resurgence and its potential second downfall, if that's what you want to call it. Again, I know this is a few days late, but college has been getting away as well as my personal life, so better late than never, I guess. The actual first lost episode creepypasta is still up to debate. Because of how long ago these stories were posted, nobody is exactly sure what the first one published is. What we do know, however, is that the earliest ones posted were, in no particular order, Candle Cove, Squidward's Tragic End, Forever Sleep Bar, and Mouse That Could Use Some Antidepressants. If I read the actual titles of those last three, YouTube wouldn't like me very much. A lot of you don't know that the sad story of Squidward has an alt title named Red Mist, so yeah, I'm just gonna call it that from now on. And just like that, a snowflake eventually turned into a blizzard. The Grieving, Max and Ruby 004, Happy, the Black Friday Incident, Rap Rat, Plankton Got Served, and there are so many more I could list off that we'd be here for hours. Like I said, these stories are quite infamous in the creepypasta community. However, their commonality isn't just related to the quality of most of them, but also how 90% of them are just the same goddamn thing over and over and over again. Based on the majority that I've read/listened to, a common lost episode creepypasta would go as follows. The setup is usually a mysterious tape, DVD, or video file being found by the author that turns out to be a never before seen episode of a show they remember, a hijacking occurs on a TV network, or it's an exclusive screening for employees. The episode starts off as normal until some weird things begin to happen, like graphic imagery, characters harming each other, a character dies, something spooky occurrences happen after watching, and to put the cherry on top, the creator or a very well-known crew member gets involved somehow to say that it's something they regret making, and the mere mention of it upsets them. It's not to say there aren't any good lost episode pastas out there. A few I can name are Candle Cove, Turn the Crank, Sunlit Nightmare, and The Dawn's Your Enemy, which isn't a lot, but they're still pretty good and deserve recognition. Most of the other ones I've read don't even bother to do anything new, and stick to the same type format we've seen for years. And not to mention, these stories have been done to death. I swear to God, if I put another unintentional pun in my goddamn script again. They are quite literally everywhere you go, and regardless of how good they are, they've become a subgenre that's exhausting to bear. We've also seen the same exact thing happen to gaming creepypastas as well. Yeah, there are some really good ones like Godzilla NES and Ben Drowned, but most of them consistently fall into the same traps as lost episode pastas, sometimes even worse. The Sonic.exe rabbit hole is one hell of a trip when you actually look into it. Eventually, lost episodes began to slowly die off out of fatigue and a lack of good content, which can also apply to creepypastas as a whole. Though it wouldn't be until the very next decade in which the community would begin to see a total revitalization. Going back to Candle Cove real quick, its author, Chris Straub, were going to create the internet horror web series that I'm sure most of you are aware of, named Local 58, premiering back in 2015, and would help gain widespread popularity to, coincidentally, the very same thing that would help revive the lost episode subgenre. I'm of course talking about analog horror. Analog horror is exactly what it sounds like. Horror with the visual style of late 1900s television or a VHS player. It may not seem like anything new in a post-found footage world, but what has made analog stand out is how non-traditional it is from the horror genre with the lack of actors, little or no jump scares, and all of it taking place on old television. It can seem lazy on one hand, but there are analog horror shows out there that undoubtedly get creative and are actually effective in their scares. While Local 58 helped give analog horror more attention, it wouldn't be until the success of the Mandela catalog Greylock in the Walton Files where it would really begin to take off. Watch Greylock, by the way, it's really good. Something I forgot to mention, however, is that sometimes even original analog horror shows tend to use pre-existing media and twist them into some messed up version of itself, like a creepypasta usually would, to drive the narrative it's trying to tell. Which acts as a good transition to what I'm about to discuss next, because by sheer coincidence, something else would come along to once again take the creepypasta community by storm. And please, you're gonna have to bear with me here.
Learning with Baby, learning is so fun.
October 30th, 2021 would see the Adult Swim YouTube channel release a pitch pilot for Come and Learn with Pibby, which features the title character being dragged into a cross-channel adventure where innocent cartoon characters are consumed by a mysterious glitchy darkness and turned into these distorted monstrous versions of themselves. I could go into the whole fiasco with Pibby's development and concepts all the way to how it was ultimately not greenlit even though it's Adult Swim's second most popular video, but that's not important. A major factor of what got people talking about Pibby is its use of pre-existing characters owned by Warner Bros. And the way they become all corrupted and spooky. Not only that, but on April 1st next year as part of Adult Swim's annual April Fool's Day prank, Pibby would take over the block for a total of 3 hours where she and Bun Bun were integrated into various shows, including the season 2 episode Rick and Morty Total Recall, where it notably replaces the scene where Morty nearly shoots Rick with a completely new animation of Morty turning into a corruption virus monster. And next thing you know, it's in the same vein where all over YouTube, reusing clips of episodes from animated shows having characters become corrupted by a virus before coming back to normal. I'm not exactly saying Pibby directly caused the resurgence of lost episode pastas, but I do believe it at least contributed to it. I mean, the rise of analog horror and Pibby happening at the same time is sure one hell of a coincidence, right? And then comes September 19th, 2022, a YouTuber by the name of Vibing Leaf would upload his own personal take on Red Mist with both reused clips of older SpongeBob episodes and completely new art made for the video. Afterwards, YouTubers like Rodrigo's Jogos, Jobless Monday, Fairy Duel 6, Denise Kazooie, Luck Inspire, Mozzarella Stick, and Tapeworm, to only name a few, would arise from not just doing their own unique spins on famous lost episode pastas, but also making their own creepypasta edits of certain shows, movies, or even broadcast networks. This would be the birth of the video pasta community. While adapting lost episode creepypastas into a video format is far from being anything new, the stories are now given into the hands of a new generation of artists, writers, animators, and editors, and man does it show. The amount of talent and effort that has gone into these videos has made them enjoyable to watch, and dare I say, they can also be pretty damn effective. It's the reason I've been following this community for so long and still do. I've even tried a couple of times to make some on my barely used Tom Member channel, which aren't very good. So unfortunately, the community is starting to downsize due to experienced burnout, plus with younger users infesting it with rushed out slop and unnecessary drama, you can't really blame them. Though if that wasn't bad enough, recently we've seen a surge in something much scarier than any creepypasta out there. That's right, we're talking about everyone's favorite discussion, AI. On September 30th of this year, OpenAI released Sora 2, a video generating program that has been making the rounds as of recent for its uncanny realism and yeah, the way this program has shown how much AI has progressed cannot be understated. The program would start gaining recognition in the creepypasta community with people using it to generate lost episode style short videos, where something spooky is shown on the TV and then either something from it makes a leap into the real world, or, most commonly, the TV just explodes. Now, at first glance, it looks like somebody's playing the AI generated video off of their TV and recording it off of their phone or something, but no. Everything you see is generated by AI. Not just what's on the TV, but everything else around it. It also gets down to the detail on the TV like the interlacing, scan phasing, and even the fucking sound quality off of it.
I am God.
Oh my god! Ah! No! No!
The fact that Sora has the ability to generate something as realistic as this is actually terrifying, and I don't think this is something that should be taken lightly. It's highly improbable that artists are gonna be replaced because of programs like Sora, though that's not gonna stop corporations from trying. But the progression of generative AI is a problem that's only gonna get worse if something isn't done about it. While thankfully Sora is facing some legal hurdles that could jeopardize its future, expect to see a lot more continued progression of it before the AI bubble finally bursts. I swear to God, I'm gonna get scammed like this 10 years from now. And once again, lost episode creepypastas have hit rock bottom, going from being poorly written stories to now being generated by a computer. Honestly, it just makes me sad. As much as most of these pastas aren't good, there's something about their personal touch that makes them fun to read most of the time. most of the time. I mean, my own creepypasta stuff is still pretty bad, but I had a fun time making them, which can apply to the creepypasta community as a whole. I guess my point here is that this subgenre is a weird one, and that's okay, because I can have a good time looking at a lot of them. Aside from all that AI shit it can run hell. Don't think there will be another evolution of lost episode creepypastas, and honestly it might be for the best. Don't know how else to end this video honestly, but until next time, I'm Miyachi. See you later. Oh my f***ing god, did you guys see that?